Man,
Grice coming in right on time.
glad you made it, Grice.
We are live, and Grice is literally just coming into the room. How you doing, Grice?
I'm great, man. Hey, another week, big week of football this past weekend. Hopefully, I get to join the party sometime soon.
All right, let's get going. Here we go. All right, Gary, right at the top, we got some big news. CMS has hired a new athletic director to replace Sue Duran. Sue Duran had been with the system, I think, about 15 years. She retired this year. Erica Turner was a basketball coach at Independence of Miller Creek. She led them to the Final Four. You know her well, Gary. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, that's an excellent selection, in my opinion. It's someone who came up through the ranks, mainly in CMS. She was a college basketball player herself. Started at Independence as a head coach. Then she went to Mallard Creek when it opened, and she was the first women's head coach over there. After she left there, she got into administration. She's also been an AD, I think, assistant principal, a principal, most recently at Rocky River. So she knows the lay of the land from all steps in the process, from being an assistant coach, a head coach, a former player, an AD, an administrator. She checks all the boxes. Very knowledgeable about all sports. And I'm very happy. I think CMS did an awesome job in picking Erica Turner as his new system athletic director. I think she will do a great job.
All right. Big hire there. She's the first African-American athletic director they've also had there as well. So that's she's a history maker, and she's also the third female in a row they've hired after Vicki Hamilton and Sue Duran. All right, guys, I wanted to ask you what you saw last week, and here we go. Chris Hughes.
Yes,
Grimsley beat Clayton, a really good Clayton team, 56-0 last week. Grice is shaking his head. Does Chambers have company atop the 4A class?
I think they do, but I'm going to say not quite yet in terms of just a team that's ready to knock them off today. But they're this close. They're really close. Obviously, we've seen an incredible performance by Alonzo Barnett. The way he's able to distribute the ball, move around with his feet. Grimsley is a top-tier team with a top-tier coach, and they're only going to get better as they gain confidence. Remember, they're state champions, so they're really close, Langston. But I don't know if I'm going to put them right there with Chambers, but they're not far away.
Grice, what do you think?
I mean, we're talking about a state championship team here. I think absolutely they're in the discussion. One big thing there is a big play of Alonzo Barnett. Early in the clubhouse, I mean, he's a guy that you've got to look at in our Mr. Football rankings up top, and we'll talk about that later. But you see on the offensive side, they have the superstar. On the defensive side, amongst other guys, you have the big guy who just committed to Carolina and Travis Shaw. You're starting to see that with great quarterback play and a dominant defensive line. This team is for real.
All right. Well, speaking of teams that are for real, we got a 4-time state champion in Charlotte Catholic moving up to 4A. They got a big win this week. Tommy Heffling had 2 picks to lead the win. And Grice, I want to get your thoughts on that, but let's hear from my Mr. Heffling first.
Well, yeah, I did. We had the right defense called, and I was put in the right position, so I was able to make the play.
And on the first one, there was another big play, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. They rolled out, and I was also in the right position then because of coaching and where everyone else was, so I was able to make the play again.
Your defense did a really strong job, especially in the first half, well, all through the game, really, because you had that second half series you stopped too. Is that the kind of defense Catholic fans can expect this year?
Yes, sir. I think we played great, especially in the second half after that 2-hour delay. We came out as a team and we held it only 6 points, even though they had a lot of yards.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the experience, and he's got to give these kids in this beautiful venue now that we were the first football team to play in it since they put all that money into it. It's always a great place. It's a great place for the fans. Shaw's done a great job doing that. And, the rain kind of, with the weather and the heat and everything, I thought both teams played extremely hard. It's one of those games, I mean, Joe and I said, we both just played hard. It's a tough loss. I mean, I have a great respect for them. Joe has turned that program around. I knew it was going to be a tough game. I knew this was going to be a game that, this is one of these games that kind of make or break the beginning of your season because you build so much momentum because that's a good football team. Tommy hopefully made 2 big interceptions right there. We lost a lot on defense. This year, the offense was coming back a lot with experience, even though they played a lot of sophomores. Now they're just juniors, and we don't have that many seniors. So a lot of the seniors that are playing on defense did not play that much. They were backups last year. So they waited by their time, and they made some really big plays. Tommy started last year for us and made some good plays. We had some good pressure on that. We have really truly a no-name defense. I mean, we lose like Connor Daughtry and Liam Barbie was one of the best linebackers ever coached, and replaced him. It's hard to replace those guys in a quick season like that, in a quick turnaround that we're doing. But these kids, they fought. Like I told the guys, I've never been more proud of a football team. I've not been in a lot of championships, a lot of different things with Coach Odo. That was just a gutty Charlotte Catholic performance, and that's what we call a Charlotte Catholic drive right there. I think it was close 19 to 20 plays almost the whole second half, just grinding, punching in the mouth, guys making plays, and this weather, toughness right there. So couldn't be more proud of what this team did tonight.
Grace.
Yeah, Coach Brodowitz does his best Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope impression there. I mean, he continues to talk about what he doesn't have and the things that, he's lacking. But what I saw was gritty red zone defense from a team that knew where to go and where to be. Coach Evans and those South Mix Sabres are for real. They played very well. Jacob Newman's, slicing runs, QB Reese, isn't bad. But you could see some of their inexperience when it came time to those, those red zone plays, as you heard with the interceptions. And you kept hearing the kids say, I was where my coach wanted me to be. Catholic and that defense and Coach Kennedy, Coach Brodowitz, they've been there before, and I think that shined in that tough, gritty, nail-biting win there.
All right, Chris, we saw Roseville lose the opening game, and they were, considered a state championship favorite. Is Pinecrest better than we thought? Is Roseville just getting up to a slow start?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that the demise of Pinecrest after the departure of Coach Chris Metzger was completely just fabrication that, so many people thought this Pinecrest team was just going to go away after the incredible run they've been on. I had a chance to watch this game. You want to talk about another Catholic-like team, a team that's just always in the right place at the right time, incredibly well coached, and that's Pinecrest football. And they were able to contain a really good offensive performance by Byron Brown. Let's not take anything away from them. Roseville played a great game. I just think Pinecrest is really a good-looking team, and I just think that it was just one of those incredible kind of games. I don't think that we can necessarily write Roseville off yet, although they got a big one this week. But I just want to give all the props to Pinecrest.
All right, Gary, up in Raleigh again, we had a 6-hour football game. Chambers had a big lead, lost it. Were they just tired because they got on the bus at 1 o'clock, they ate at 3:30, and they were out playing at 11, had eaten again? Were they just tired? Is Gibbons better?
Well, I talked to someone that went to the game as well as one of Chambers' coaches, and they got off to a slow start because of penalties, and they really need to clean that up. Some of them were justifiable, but some of them were kind of questionable. But we won't get into the officiating right now. But I think they started to find their groove in the second quarter, and then that's when the delay hit. And when you have a situation like that, when you got a team coming in from out of town that far away, they've already been on a bus for 3 hours before the game. Now you're talking about they're going to wait another 3 hours after playing, and that's rough. That's a credit to Chambers to extend the lead early in the third quarter, but I think it should be incumbent upon the host team. If somebody's going to wait it out, the host team needs to go in the concession stand, get some food, and feed the visitors. That's a
good point. I want to come back to the penalties. Coach Farabee said that we're just a really physical team, and people are not used to seeing our level of physicality outside our area. What do you think of that?
Well, maybe so. They play hard now. They play hard. There's no question about that. I just think that, I watched Chambers, or last year as Vance. I watched him the last 4 games. And they had a lot of penalties every game. And some of them are pre-snap penalties, and some of them are questionable. And you're going to have some pass interference penalties, and you're going to have a couple of questionable late hit penalties, because kids are trying to play through the whistle. But the taunting and the pre-snap penalties, they got to work on that in practice. They really need to work on that. They had 2 people that got removed from the game for cussing, and they weren't cussing at the officials, and they weren't cussing at the other team. It's just, some of them, how they talk, and the excitement of the game, the officials heard it, and they threw them out. And they didn't do it on the other side. So they come in with a built-in bias. And sometimes it looks like the officials want to keep the game close. And the way they do it is to just keep throwing a lot of flags. And
every
then
time Vance ran to the left side, they call holding. Every single time they call holding.
Yeah, it was one guy on the Vance bench calling all the penalties.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
in Charlotte, Huff and Mars Park played Grice. We had a really big matchup down at Memorial Stadium. Huff got the W, and our man got the highlights of it. So we're going to run Zach Perry's highlights right here and get your comments on the backside.
I thought we played pretty well. For a first game, the summer wasn't a normal summer for us. We had so many kids at camps. So, basically all of June, we didn't see any of our starters for the most part. They were at camps and stuff. So we got them for a couple weeks in July, and we started August 2nd. So, Mars Park's a good football team, and they're going to be right there at the end as well. And I thought we played well. What I was excited about was some toughness. I wasn't sure whether we had it or not. Some physicality that we had up front, and I was really, really excited. I fun of my own 30 in that situation, but it is what it is. We thought we had something, but you know what? But and here's the thing too: is that some of those situations is really good for our defense. To be in that situation, to learn to persevere through that, and fight through those situations. Isaiah made a great pick down here in the corner after that fake punt. Which I thought was an outstanding play on his part. I was just excited about the way we played. Been his best game he's played to date. I think he made a lot of really good decisions. Checked us out of some plays. The touchdown that we threw down here to DT down there. I think he checked us out of a run play in that one and threw that ball. I thought he did a lot of really, really nice things. Still some things that we got to get better at, but I thought he played really, really well for his first game. I was at home quarantined, so it was. I didn't know what to. I told them on Wednesday I didn't know what to expect. Watching practice on film is not the same as being at practice. Getting a feel for what we look like and how we're playing and how we're practicing. I didn't really know what to expect. I know we're a good football team. I'm not downplaying that. We're a good football team, but I didn't know how good we would be going against a quality opponent this early. Hey, what a great facility. We were talking before the game. I was talking with Greiner and some guys, and what a great place to hold like a state championship game, or a regional final game. It's kind of the perfect size. This place would be packed and it would be loud in here. We love going to the big stadiums. It's fun for the kids and everything, but this would be such a cool environment. If we got to play some later games in the playoffs.
Thank you.
I thought this game would be a game that would tell us a lot about each team. We kind of in the build up to the game, we discussed that this would be a game of stars, whether they, are transferred in at, whatever point, and, determining whose stars will play the best. You look on the Huff side, you see Tad Hudson had a very efficient game in which, he didn't have a lot of mistakes and really made great decisions with the ball. Xavier Turner Knoxman, a new transfer in from North Mac, we see, hey, Coach Jenkins wasn't there, but what a treat it is, what a luxury it is to be able to hand the ball off to that kid. He proved instrumental in Huff's decisive drive at the end, closing the game out. Myers Park, again, they seem to have some holes, within their offense. Made some plays, but again, there was a key special teams play, I think, to turn the game. And unfortunately, a pretty interesting kicking call on a punt that went over the Huff punter's head that led to Huff being able to kind of close the game out when it appeared Myers Park could take the lead. So it was a wild game full of intrigue and one that ended well after midnight. But
yes, it absolutely did. We had another humdinger up in Weddington. Grice, want to get your thoughts on Christian Weddington after we hear from the participants in that one.
How good does it feel tonight to lead your team to a big win over a very good Charlotte Christian team?
Feels very good. I have been waiting a long time for this, and I couldn't ask any more from my teammates. We played hard, left it all out there, and came out with the win. This Weddington football program is the best in North Carolina. Our coaches do a wonderful job every year of turning around and making a winning team again. So all credit goes to those coaches.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to be a four-quarter battle, but we kind of stressed trying to come out early and getting going fast. And, I mean, we played hard from the get-go. We just, those first games are always tough. You're trying to figure out your identity offensively and, what you can do. So, we played hard for 4 quarters. I think we just got to do a better job. And really, ultimately, it falls on me of, getting them up for the game early and making sure we got, maybe some good starter plays. So, that's something we got to work on as a staff. But, it's game 1, and we're going to continue to grow off of it.
One of the things that we've tried to do in building what we've built is, we want to challenge our guys early. And when Coach Capone reached out to me, they had an open date. I was all for coming here. Like, I wanted to play in this environment with our guys, and they're young and we're young. We're young and inexperienced, and people always say, how does COVID? What happens? Most of the guys that we played tonight didn't have a JV season a year ago, so they not only missed their 10th grade year, they're playing varsity football for the first time out here. So it was good, and great high school football game. I thought it was well coached. The kids played hard on both sides of the ball, so great environment for us regardless of the outcome right now.
This game was a great parallel to the Catholic South Met game. As you have kids that a lot of times are in the Weddington area that may go to Christian. So I thought it was fitting that this game would be a one-score game and tight for 4 quarters, just as that one was. I think Weddington really, and I think Coach Capone alluded to it, has to find their identity in the post-Shipley era. And I think that's one of those things that how they do this season is going to continue to be based on how soon that they can find that identity. And I thought Christian, again, we saw them a lot in the fall with the private schools exclusively playing in the Charlotte area. They continue to show that, hey, even though Providence Day may be picked as a favorite, they're going to be a tough out in that private school sector. And I'm excited to see how they progress. But again, another kind of, rivalry game where the kids know each other and led to another thrilling week 1 game.
Yeah, some really good games in week 1. Gary, any surprises that you saw?
I thought Myers Park would be a little bit better than they showed. It's still the first game, and they're missing a key cog in losing their starting running back from last year, who had a great game for South Meck the other night. Expected a little bit more, but all these teams will get better from game 1 to game 2. That's usually when you find your biggest improvements between game 1 and game 2.
All right. Well, as you guys can see, the faces are changing on the screen. Sam Griner's getting really nervous. I got my man Jimmy Brewer from Charlotte Catholic. He's here to take you down, Samuel.
Why do we keep getting these brainiacs, man? Unbelievable.
Jimmy's my guy, man. I coached Jimmy growing up. That's my guy. You in trouble. Jimmy, tell us a little bit about.
You already told him the questions. Y'all make it.
I have not given him the questions. He asked for the questions. I didn't give it to him. Jimmy, tell me what's going on with Charlotte Catholic right now. What's going on there with you guys right now?
Just finished up a late practice. Came out here to beat the heat, and so just in here. I've got a volleyball game going on in the back, so you may hear some screams. But
good. Tell me about the team. How you guys feel about moving up to 4A?
It's definitely a big step, a new challenge, something that we haven't faced in I think 5 years or so. So, I mean, it's definitely a new challenge for us, but me and the guys are confident that we can handle some of the new challenges that are coming at us this season. And we took down step 1 in those challenges last Thursday against South Meck, and they were a great team, and it was a hard-fought game. And now we got another one against Hickory Ridge this weekend. So,
well, you got a hard challenge right now because you got to beat Sam Griner.
You're going against one of my best friends in the coaching world, Jupiter Wilson, and man, he has the most respect for Catholic football because he's like, man, they just run cover 2 and they really are good at it. That's all they need to run, and they won 4 state championships in a row. And I was like, yeah, they're very sound. So he's got a lot of respect for you guys, but they're pretty explosive. This is their best team they've ever had.
They're bringing in a good team. So.
All right. Well, are you ready, Jimmy?
Of course.
I need some help from Dale.
Are you ready, Sam?
Yeah. Tell Gary in the back to chill, man. He's messing up my mojo.
Here we go.
Brother, I'm not MJ, just Coach Griner, but I'm the GOAT of the game show.
That's so like arrogant right there, but that's all right. Over that.
You say you don't have any branding, so we're trying to get you branded.
Yeah, that's right. You know, the guns were out. Did y'all see that?
We saw
that video.
We saw little guns. Chelsea, let's go. Question 1. Here we go.
All right. UNC beat Clemson in 2010. Who was the quarterback? A. TJ Yates, B. Bryn Renner, C. Mike Paulus, or D. Marquise Williams?
Okay, Jimmy, you have to go first because Sam always makes the visitor go first.
All right. I'm gonna go with TJ Yates.
TJ Yates. Samuel.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with TJ Yates as well.
Okay. Well, you guys both get it right. The answer is TJ Yates.
Mm-hmm.
So we're stuck at 1. I'm a little upset.
This guy gets that right. I'm just like, say Marquise Williams or something. God,
it's okay. I tried to trick you with Marquise, Sam. All right,
I would have in 2011, so he couldn't have played for him in 2010. So yeah.
Yeah, he coached against him.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Dale. Number 2. Here we go.
Okay. LaMelo Ball's signature shoe is called what? A, 1 of 1, B, MB1, C, Big Baller, D, ZO2.
That's Sam. You really should know this, Sam.
This is going to be news for me too. So,
I'm gonna go with B.
B. All right.
Yeah, I'm going with B as well. MB1.
Lee, you guys are hot. We still got to tie.
you guys going to tie and get all of them right. Wow.
Lee, this guy, I told you, man. Like I gotta get them perfect. Y'all gave him the answers. Gee.
I did not. He asked for the answers. I did not give him the answers. He did ask. I didn't give him.
Hey, I didn't ask for the answers. Maybe a hint or two.
No, he asked for the questions. He said, "Can I see the questions?" All right, Chelsea, number 3. We're tied. We're all tied up.
All right. Which Netflix show is based on the former NFL player who once played in Charlotte? A. Friday Night Lights, B. All American, C. QB1, or D. Under the Lights?
I can't spell.
Under the Lights.
Under the Lights.
Oh, there you go.
Jimmy.
I'm gonna go with C, QB1.
QB1.
Yeah, it's C.
No, it isn't. It's B. All American.
No.
So we're still.
Oh, that's incorrect.
That's correct.
QB1. Sam Harmon was on.
Oh, you know what? You are right. I had 2 correct answers. You're right.
Yep.
No, you guys.
Yeah, we're not wrong on that.
No. You're right. You guys still tied.
I should get bonus for daggone telling you who it was. No, that's bonus.
Damn.
So, wow. Okay. Justin Bieber has the #1 song in the country. Really? I didn't know. Stay. Who sings with him? A, Doja Cat. B, Ed Sheeran. C, Olivia Rodrigo. I'm sorry. Or D, the Kid Leroy.
See, this is the thing that bothers me. Like, you purposely put these questions that I don't have a clue about, like the younger generation, and you make me go first. I'm going to switch it up and say I want to go first from now on because this is – you want me to fail. You want me to lose.
I don't want you to fail, Sam.
Unbelievable. This is bullcrap.
You said you're the GOAT of the game show.
Yeah, you forced me to say it.
No, I didn't.
All right, let me think about this. I don't have a daggone clue.
Shouldn't need help.
Look behind him and make sure his daughters aren't behind him with the answer.
What are those 2 right? Those guys?
8 years old. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me see. #1 song.
I'm gonna have to bring Chris on with his bell.
I'm gonna go with D.
Go with D. All right. What you got, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm going with D as well.
We are still tied.
It's a good guess.
That's freaking clutch right there. I don't have a clue, but I'm just going D.
Okay.
What are we going to do about a tiebreaker?
All or nothing question. Jimmy, you're first this time?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Chelsea.
All right. Which Netflix show put sexy people on an island and asked them to remain celibate? A, Love Island. B, Too Hot to Handle. C, X on the Beach. Or D, F Boys.
It's a real show.
Really?
See, I don't watch this type of Netflix, but I'm gonna go B, too hot to handle.
Sam.
Golly, I think he's wrong.
But what if he's right?
Yeah, I can't lose if I guess with
Where's
them.
the strategy exactly?
The strategy is to guess with them right now. All right, I'm gonna for technical purposes, so I don't lose and I retain. I'm gonna go B, but I think the answer is A.
The answer is B. I was already in the bump.
All right, I went B, so I was all right. Good. We got a perfect score. Perfect score, both of us.
This is the second time I think we had, because you tied the Salisbury linebacker, Jaylon Walker, last year. We gotta get Jaylon back for a rematch, and Jimmy, we gotta have you back for a rematch to take on Sam.
Hey, mad props to you though. Look, y'all gotta give me some props. There was 2 questions I had 0 clue about. That's just straight strategy guessing.
Yeah, you were doing some major guessing. I mean, I think your daughters were in the background helping you.
My daughters don't know them. They 7 and 8. Chris, quit shaking your head. Hey, if I said no, I had to bow up real quick. That's all I had to do.
I see 2 eyes in the background.
Hey, but Jimmy, listen, good luck against Shikari Richardson this week. They put up 68 last week, so you guys better be good on defense.
Yes, sir.
What position do you play? What position do you play?
I'm fullback.
Oh, you're the daggone beast mode. All right.
Yeah. When they had that 38-play drive, you were running up the middle.
Plan on going to college, Jeff? You looked at like Army and Navy and all those type of schools, or no?
I haven't really looked at Army or Navy yet. I mean, I'm not sure where the future holds, but that's probably something I'll figure out towards the end of the football season.
Yeah.
All right, cool deal, man.
All right, well, good luck, Jimmy. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, take care. That's my man, Jimmy Brewer. Great kid.
Oh my gosh, y'all gave him the answers, and I have to be perfte just to tie. Unbelievable.
Well,
he knew the last one. He knew the last one and tried to play it like he didn't.
Yeah, he absolutely
that was good. I was with him on that.
He's
watched me in the past.
All right, man. We'll be back with you in a minute. There we go. Let you go to Chelsea. It's time for you and Chris to do y'all's thing. I'm gonna get out of the way. Y'all have a good time.
Well, Chelsea, this is just your world, and we're just happy to be living in it with you, watching you shine here on the big screen. Second show now here in the hot seat. How's it going so far?
Going good. It's what I look forward to on Tuesday nights, after a long day of school and stuff. I'm like, can't wait for Talking Prep Charlotte.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, who did you interview this week?
Yeah, so I interviewed Chad Cairns, a quarterback from Middle Creek. He was one of the athletes who reached out to me over Twitter DM. And again, to anyone who wants an interview, my Twitter is @ChelseaSipple. Love to talk with you. So yeah, set up a Zoom and just asked him about his season.
Well, he had a tough loss on Saturday, but I think Middle Creek, they got a new coach, fantastic program. I think they're going to still have a good year. Let's get that video and hear what he's got to say.
So, Chad, last season you had a successful junior year. What are some of your goals and expectations for yourself as a senior now?
My main goal is always leave something better than I found it. My main goal this year is to go out with a SWAC title with our team and just finish what I started.
Reflect on some of the past seasons and talk about any of the growth you've seen in the football program.
So definitely, we have 25 seniors, so it's a pretty close-knit team. We've been lifting and working out for the past 4 years now. We're all pretty tight, like a family almost. It definitely feels more like a family team this year than it has in the past few years, so I'm really excited to see what we do this year.
What's one game that stood out to you, maybe as a team performance or individual performance?
Definitely when we played Richmond County, they're one heck of a program. We showed that we could play in those tough games, and we didn't quit at all, which I loved about our guys. We stayed fighting the whole game. Even when we were down big, we kept fighting and we didn't give up and came back from a pretty big deficit and made it a little bit closer. But still, it shows that we can keep playing those tough games. But I think I'm most looking forward to playing Panther Creek this year. They have the most hype in our conference. So I like to compete and play the best teams possible. So I'm going to give them my best shot and hopefully take out a W.
Awesome. And again, as a quarterback, how would you describe your game style on the field?
I definitely say I'm more like a gunslinger. I like to squeeze the ball in those tight windows and show I got a killer arm. I'm going to leave it all on the field every time I get on the field. I come from a big football family. My dad played at Oregon. My brother played at Wake Forest, so I know football. I'm going to get in the film room. I'm going to dissect everything and make sure I get better and better every week.
Awesome. And also, as a senior at Middle Creek, how do you stand up as a leader for the team?
I try to help the freshmen learn the plays. I'm trying to be a better guy just off the field too, and not just be that one guy who's always screaming and yelling. I'm going to try and help the guys learn and continue to grow as a person.
For sure. That's great. Well, thank you so much for hopping on, and I look forward to seeing some of y'all's games.
Thank you.
Wow, Chelsea, Chad Kearns has an arm. I was watching those highlights. Yeah. He had a couple quick back shoulder throws, especially when against Richmond County. You picked a good guy to talk to. Remind everybody how they can get in touch with you. I know we've got a lot of athletes that would love to be on Talking Preps. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my Twitter is @ChelseaSipple, and my DMs are open. Just reach out, mention that you want to be on the show, and I'd love to set up a Zoom interview.
Tell them again, Chelsea, how to give me a second to type it up. Tell them again how to
My Twitter is @ChelseaSipple right there. Langston has it up. My DMs are open.
Spell it right. You know I can't spell that. Spell it right.
Yeah, you got it. So yeah, just reach out in my DMs, and I'd love to talk.
All right, it is time for Grice's Gems. All right, before we get to it, I'm gonna let you guys get to it. My camera's all blurry.
I know,
before we get to it, I'll let you guys get to it. I gotta throw up this guy I found today, Chris. 19 touchdowns last night. They tied a North Carolina State record. Logan Bradshaw.
Yes, and that was last night. Yeah. Logan, Wyatt Holland, but both of them, they played last night. Midway won that ball game 80-73. This isn't ACC basketball. This is a high school football game. 80-73.
Like Will Greer won a game like that. Some crazy scored. He threw like 12, 13 touchdowns in the game. That's the first thing I thought about when I saw these.
And this was not 8-man football. I mean, this was 19 passing touchdowns. Well, what are we looking at? About 800 yards passing. I mean, good golly.
These dudes threw 40. They threw 63 passes, and 19 of those were touchdowns. 19 of 49 completions were touchdowns. I mean, that game was just crazy. It was
and you've got two great coaches. You got to think about Hopton. They're a team that's going to be really strong in this 1A. You got to look out for them. Coach Joe Glass and the offensive coordinator George Coltharp are two of the biggest gurus, I guess, if we want to use that word, for the air raid offense. They get on there with some of the best in the nation and really dial in that air raid. So, I mean, that's what these guys do, and they surely put on a show.
No, they did. That's just amazing. All right, you guys got some Grice's Gems. We did it a little different this week. We had a special guest. I think we had a lot of fun. Yes? No?
Oh, yeah. Grice's Gems is always great. Let's roll it.
All right, here we go.
All right, Grice, it's time for Grice's Gems. You've made this segment famous. We have really put the spotlight on some of the best performers of the state of the past week. This week, opening week of the high school football season, we had some mammoth performers. Let's go ahead and start going through the list. Tell me about them, Grice.
Oh, man, I love week one because a lot of times you get those guys and those stars that we've talked about that have amazing performances. So, again, as you see, these are the Grice's Gems for this week. We start off, of course, with the illustrious Amarian Hampton, who's been on our high school Heisman or now Mr. Football list. Alonzo Barnett, again, another one in that same place. But we'll go ahead and start with Amarian Hampton. So he's, the UNC recruit. The commit has 9 carries for 158 yards and 4 touchdowns in a season-opening win. I mean, again, it's a guy that, we've talked about, Chris. We know that he's a quality back. And week one, again, he showed why he's been on our list, why he's been on our radar and Mac Brown's radar the entire time there. Chris,
Coach Price, he made a big impact in a very small amount of time. That was a blowout win, 52-0 over Cary. So, I mean, he really didn't get on the field very much, and he really didn't have to. Obviously, you see 9 carries and 4 touchdowns. I mean, I love that productivity there, Coach. Coach Scott Riley told me about that young man as a 9th grader, and he told me 4 years ago to mark it down. He was going to be the best he had ever coached. Turns out to be his crystal ball was right. He was really good, and I think this next guy we're talking about is pretty good as well, Coach.
Oh my goodness. This again, we talk about best quarterbacks in the state, man. If you're not mentioning Alonzo Barnett in that name, in that list, you don't know what you're talking about. And I know the guru has him on his list. His quarterback threw 7 TDs to 4 different receivers in less than 3/4 of a 56-0 win over Clayton. Got a buddy who coaches basketball at Grimsley. He said he didn't even finish the third quarter in this game, which shows you the level of productivity he has. But again, state champion and James Madison commit is again showing you that they are well on tap for another state championship run in the 4A Fight Club this year, Chris.
Yeah, and look at who they beat. They beat Clayton, who's a really, really good football team. So that was an exceptional performance by Barnett. I have been singing his praises since he's in the 8th or 9th grade. He come up on Danny O'Brien. Anybody remembers Danny O'Brien, former ACC Freshman of the Year? He came up under Coach O'Brien's tutelage, saw him in a lot of his camps over the years. He is a phenomenal athlete, but an even better young man, great family. I love seeing this guy succeed.
Oh, he's going to continue to have a great run this year, and I'm excited to see all the stuff that he can do. The next one we'll go to is we'll stay on this quarterback train with Dylan Bisson at Mountain Island Charter. Again, last year, had an all-conference season, had a coming-out party of sorts, or in the spring season. Again, you see the numbers. Look at the efficiency. It's a key theme here. 15 of 20 for 277 yards, 4 touchdowns, the rushing touchdown. Again, 5 total touchdowns there, and a 34-27 win over Anson Senior. Again, a 1A school getting it done on the road in Anson County out in Wadesboro. He did a pretty good job. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I know Anson's a little young this year, but we know the talent that Coach Ralph Jackson has in that Bearcat squad. So to see him come in there and go 15 of 20 and throw the ball all over the field, that tells me all I need to know about his ability to get the job done against a very talented opposition.
Oh, agreed 100%. We'll move forward next to Jaden Brooks out of Princeton. Chris, I know you're the guru. Is this a 1A school here?
Princeton is now a 2A. And matter of fact, even though they moved up from 1A to 2A, they're very solidly a top 15 to 16, 17-ish 2A team. Very good. They put in a brand new turf field that's really going to just get those. They run a power offense. I know Coach Hells, who we're going to bring on later tonight, loves power football. They get that power offense on there. They start running downhill, and Princeton is just hard to stop. They're the Bulldogs as well, so I like to call them dogs. But Jaden Brooks was a tough guy. Smithfield Selma, Coach Deron Donald, matter of fact, I coached with him at Douglas Byrd. He's the coach at Smithfield. He said that Brooks was one of the best that he had seen, just so hard to bring down.
Again, 403 yards rushing. I think it was 7 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, I think it was 6 touchdowns or something. But again, 403 yards rushing is what I'm looking at. I think the tweet said wowza, and I echo those same sentiments there. Again, Jaden Brooks and Princeton, again, that move to 2A for them doesn't seem to be much of an issue with a big win in week 1 over Smithfield Selma. Our performances were pretty amazing. And as we talk about all the time, if you ball, we got to give you the call. So, let us know you have a major performance on Friday night. You can tweet us. You can tweet Langston Wirtz at Langston Wirtz Jr. Make sure that he's aware, because we want to get you and highlight some of the great things that you've done this week. So, again, congrats to all the Grice's Gems. I think Barnett may be a 2-time Grice's Gems alumni. You continue to ball. We're going to make sure you guys get shine.
Well, it's time for the 2-minute warning. I'm not Alex, but we're still going to be a little gloom and doom. We got Chris in for Alex. I think the first question is going to Dale. Oregon State, Dale are requiring vaccines and negative tests for fans to attend games. Does that migrate to Carolina's colleges or high schools?
So we unfortunately do have to be a little bit of gloom and doom, don't we? I think as far as colleges are concerned, I'm not certain why a college would not mandate this, because it's so important to your program to be able to keep playing and not lose players. You don't want to get quarantined. You don't. So I expect that we will see that it will move to college programs in the Carolinas. I also think that we may see it in high school, but I think high school's there's a lot more, the parent involvement's a lot higher, and there's a lot of let's not do that mandate. I'm not big on mandates, but now that we have an approved vaccine, and let's remember, high school athletics is a voluntary thing. It's not a mandated thing that you play high school athletics. So I'm for vaccinating high school kids. I know we saw discussion of it earlier, back a couple of weeks ago. Now that we have an approved vaccine, I think some districts may move that way.
All right, Gary. Big Friday's coming back. The Panthers are bringing back Big Friday prep football at the Memorial Stadium. Is this good for high school sports?
It's awesome. I can remember back in the 90s, early 2000s, that's what everybody looked for on their schedule. Do we have a game at Memorial Stadium? Because you knew if you had a game at Memorial Stadium, the spotlight was on you that week. The kids get up for it. And when I walked into that stadium Friday night, I was blown away. I mean, it looks completely different. I think that's awesome on the Panthers. And they made sure they got good games. You know, it's one thing to get the stadium, but it's another to make sure you have two opponents that are worthy of that spotlight. And the 3 games that they have, let's see here, Butler-Richmond this Saturday. That should be an awesome game. Richmond travels well.
Yes.
Catholic Providence, that's a great game. And then finishing up with Chambers and Huff, which is the big rivalry right now in CMS. So they got an excellent schedule. It's an excellent venue. And just to see the skyline of Charlotte as you sit in the stadium, it's just absolutely beautiful. And here's the biggest one. They have instant replay.
And the field doesn't get sagged.
Yeah, they can't use it as far as the officials, but you get to see every play 2 or 3 times, you know, so that is awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Chelsea, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but we lost your face when I the lower third. But up in Raleigh, how big a deal was it for Roseville to lose to Pinecrest?
You know, first, gosh, I wish this was a game I could have made it to. But I still think Rolesville is a top team like that. I think it does show, you know, how well Pinecrest can really step up. And I think Rolesville played a good game, but Pinecrest played better. But I wouldn't question Rolesville's talent or anything. I think just one loss, and I think they can bounce back.
Chris, you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with it. And I think that it's a very decent possibility that Rolesville is going to go 0-2 playing an exceptional East Forsyth team this week. And even then, I'm not going to say gloom and doom. I think that this Rolesville team is just playing a really aggressive schedule, but I think it'll pay off later on in the year.
All right. Dale, how long is too long for a weather delay? We saw several games this past week go after 12 in the morning. Vance didn't get home till 4 in the morning on Saturday morning. They left Charlotte 1.
That's a good question. I do want to say a lot of people have sold Pinecrest short. I think they just keep selling Pinecrest short last season and this season. That's just my thought. You know, that's just I have been in a situation similar to this up at Burns over in Cleveland County when Mooresville went over, and they had that long, you know, somewhat of a drive over, and then they had a long delay where the Mooresville kids sat on the bus. Something like this, you know, how long is too long? I know you had in the original question you mentioned 4 a.m., but that has more to do with the fact that you're playing out of town, so any delays are really going to impact you. The question is, in a situation like that kind of game, you know, we saw this at Memorial Stadium back when Mallard Creek and Dutch Fork came up, and they kept delaying, and then ultimately didn't play because they couldn't get the schools back together. So if you don't wait it out, what are you going to do to get these two to be able to play again? To finish it up on a Monday, which is, I don't know if that would have been the possibility. So you're going to have to send them back up on a Monday to play? No, that's probably not going to happen. So I think that's something that the ADs and the coaches, or really the coaches, need to get together and decide, do we want to finish this game? You know, you keep waiting and hoping something's going to clear up and you're going to be able to play, and ultimately get to the point you're waiting so long that it's like, why give up waiting? So that's a long time, especially, you know, your point earlier about having food available. Somebody could have done something to have addressed that.
That was Gary that said that, but I think he was very
I agree with you, Gary.
Gary, your girl Shikari Richardson. Tell me what you thought about her finishing last in her race, and then the headline she caused with her post-game interview.
Well, a little bit of background. Shikari qualified for the U.S. Olympic team this summer, and then it was discovered that she had failed a drug test. She had tested positive for marijuana. She did make excuses. She said it was during a time where she was still in mourning over the loss of her mother. Her mother had recently passed. And, most people cut her some slack. She did make excuses. She knew the rule. And most people cut her some slack saying it's an antiquated rule. The NFL, the NBA, they no longer punish for positive marijuana tests. So she had the sympathy of America, or most of America. There was that segment out there of, hey, let's boycott watching the Olympics since the U.S. Olympic team won't let her run. But it wasn't the U.S. Olympic team that punished her. It was the IOC doesn't allow that.
Right.
So moving forward, everybody was anticipating how well she would have done had she been in the Olympics. And, you had this meet in Oregon with the three top finishers who all happened to be from Jamaica in this race. And
they were in peak form just coming off the Olympics.
They were in peak form. I don't know if she was or not.
I don't think she
finished
was.
in last.
She's been going through a lot.
Yeah, she finished in last. Okay. And as I'm watching, I'm feeling a little bit sympathetic. But then they interview her. They don't go to the winners. They go to her, probably because she's an American.
She's an American, and she's a story.
And she just ran it and raved. No humbleness, no humility. Cursed on live TV.
She did.
And then said, "I'm still here. Ain't no quitting me. I'll be back. Ain't no quitting me." And then 10 minutes later, she dropped out of the 200. Yeah. Now you just said and no quitting, and then you said I'm not running in the 200.
Yeah.
Then they went to a commercial, and guess who was in the commercial? Nike is running a Shikari Richardson commercial.
Well, they probably had that
Nike.
queued up thinking she might do something in the meet, but it's
that had to be the worst timing for Nike. And I know Nike likes to be on the edge a little bit. Yeah. But she really needs to get some better handlers because I think she got overwhelmed.
She needs somebody to teach her how to deal with the media for sure.
And you would think somebody who had reached that level as a world-class athlete, and she's run at LSU. And
Gary, she's 21 years old. She's got 2 or 3 more Olympics left in her. Her competition is aging, so I think the next Olympics she definitely should medal, and the one after that maybe she can win a gold. I think she's going to get faster. I think she's going to be fine. But it's time to move on. We're going to let Gary have a quick break. Chelsea, thanks for joining us this week. You got anybody planned for next week? Anybody special?
I want to reach out to the Audrey Kell coach. He said he has some players.
There we go. You guys got to reach out to Chelsea. You get put on the Charlotte Observer, the News Observer, the Herald. Sure. I mean, you're all over the place. I mean, you want to say you slept on. You get with Chelsea, you definitely not slept on. So, Chelsea, thanks for coming on with us. We'll catch you next week.
See y'all next week.
All right, take care. That's Chelsea Simple. All right, Chris, it's time for 60 Seconds with Chris. What's on the menu?
Man, we got a little bit of everything. Kind of looking back at this first week of the season, really a lot of hype around the season. I'm going to give away some game balls and just a few other little things, but I think we're going to have a little bit of fun with this.
All right, here we go.
All right, I'm back here for Chris's Corner, and we had such a good time doing it last week that we're going to do it again this week. Uh-oh. All right, I'm back here for Chris's Corner, and we had such a good time doing it last week that we're going to do it again this week. As you know, it's going to go by really quick, so we're going to wind that clock up first. But first, I get my mouth so dry, I got to drink a nice cold sun drop. Hot out here today. All right, Chris's Corner. Preseason rankings. Where Chris was wrong where Chris was right. Where I was right, Richmond County at number 7, absolutely spot on. Some people didn't even rank them. Jacksonville at number 8, absolutely hit it on the head. Northern Nash number 20, still right, but I think they're a little bit better. Where I was wrong, East Forsyth at number 14, nope, they should have been better. Greenville Rose at number 1, what was I thinking? Rocky Mount number 16, no way, they're a top 5, top 10 team. Wilson Hunt unranked, come on, what was I thinking? Wait and see teams, kind of Monroe, Rollsville, Kings Mountain, some teams I've got on the radar, Forest View, Carson. Winners and losers. Pinecrest High School coach Bob Curtin, new coach, interim coach, had that big win over Rollsville, big win. UNC football getting generational defensive talent. Travis Shaw, huge win. The losers, though, the students, the coaches, the fans, people on the COVID protocol, man, you got to hate it for them. The Gurus game balls, though. This is what I'm waiting to do. Tad Hudson, Huff High School. Sadavion Wembley, Southview. Chris McGuire, Franklin, great game against Murphy. Oh, there's the bell. South Rowan head football coach Chris Walsh, first win, and you knew deal. That's it for Chris's corner. 60 seconds with Chris. I think that's going to do it. Woo! Man, that 60 seconds was so hot I had to cool down.
We hyped up the intros, man. We're a different level right now.
No kidding, guys. No kidding. And we're going to take it to the next level again. And we're going to talk about this Mr. Football list. We've got these guys ranked, and we're going to look at them right here. Hey, our Mr. Football from the year ago, he's still up there number 1, guys. I don't know that we've really seen him explode yet, but I think that talent's there, and he's a ticking time bomb, and he will. Obviously, we talked about Marion Hampton at Cleveland. Travis Shaw, he is going to be an NFL guy. I have no doubt in my mind. Alonzo Barnett, wow, what a performance he had Friday night. Jalen Walker, Salisbury, Tad Hudson, a Huff. He was spot on in that Thursday game. Shalik Knotts heading to Maryland. Albert Red, Glenn, Malik Hamrick, Shelby, Byron Brown, and Rollsville played great even in the loss. Tate Carney at Davie County, Michael Allen, Greenville Rose, Christian Hamilton, Hickory Ridge. He's got his work cut out for him on this game coming up Friday. Looking on that back half, Jacob Newman, South Meck. I really like what I saw out of him against Catholic. Noah Rogers, Rollsville. Isaiah Crowell, maybe the best cover corner in North Carolina up there at East Forsyth. Tamor Thompson at Grimsley, Torrin Wright, A.L. Brown, Casey Concepcion here at Chambers, Kavion Freshwater up at Northeastern. They got a big game Friday. James Pierce at Chambers, Jalen Swindell also at Chambers, Bryce Dixon at Butler, Matt David, big linebacker at West Forsyth, and another linebacker, Carter Wyatt at West Brunswick. Guys, that's a lot of good football players.
That is. I mean, and it's you looking, the first thing I see is Alonzo Barnett at 4. It's like, what does a guy got to do, in 2.5 quarters of work, throwing 7 touchdowns and still ranked 4. So, you got some names on here, some big games coming up, even some games against some of the other players on his watch list. So I really think you're going to see a lot of shuffling here these next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look how great of a list that is. I mean, if someone's got a problem with someone on that list, then they might not be watching football very well.
Like you said, Ground, you got to show your work if you think you belong on this list. But
That's
again,
right.
as the guru always says, this list is not the final end-all, be-all. Guys continue to have big performances, continue to show out, get players of the week, become Grice's gems. You might see some new faces on this list here next week.
It's Dalen Smothers, though. He keeps doing that. Last week.
Yeah,
I go Heisman winner last year, and we still got Jalen up there. That's crazy.
Oh, man, it's right. And I read it that way too, guys. I'm sorry about that, Hollywood, but he's right. It's Dalen Smothers.
And Hollywood Smothers if we want to. I mean,
he has really become Hollywood in the city. I've seen some of the other Chambers kids that weren't too happy about being asked, "Are you Hollywood?" It's the first question in anybody's mouth.
Hey, but Coach Christ, just to follow up to what you said, talking about Alonzo Barnett being their number 4, I think it just shows how stacked that top 3 is. I mean, all 3 of those men are just phenomenal football players, and I would take any of those guys anytime. Speaking of one of the other guys on the list, number 6, Tad Hudson, he had a great game Thursday night. I want to bring up a clip of him because we've got some great video on this young man.
All right, so we're sitting here with Huff quarterback Tad Hudson, just committed to North Carolina. What made you decide to do this before your junior year of high school?
Yes, sir. The main thing was just get it all done before the season so I can focus completely on the season and just put all my time in there instead of going to schools, watching a bunch of games, and talking all the time. So it's nice to get it out the way. I think the culture there is just amazing. Coach Lange and Coach Brown, all the coaches there are great people, and it's an awesome place to be. Glad I'm there.
Well, who did it come down to? Was it 4 or 5 different schools, or was it just a feeling?
It was a couple. I'd say my favorites, they haven't offered me yet. My favorites were probably NC State.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Alabama a lot. I was talking to them. Notre Dame, I really liked it there. And then Auburn, Texas, a couple other people that have offered me, I'd say.
Did you talk to Drake at all about, or Sam at all about coming to Chapel Hill? Did they recruit you a little bit?
I'd say Drake, he recruited me a little bit, not too much. He was always telling me, just go where your heart is and that'll be what's best for you. I wouldn't say he was recruiting me that hard, but it was definitely cool to have some insight because all these coaches are telling you a bunch of things and you don't know if some of it's true. And then you have Drake there telling me, oh, it's true. Everything they tell you is the truth. So that's pretty good.
All right. Incredible interview right there with Tad Hudson. Great job, Langston. Hey, Catawba Ridge quarterback Jaden Davis is ranked the #1 quarterback in the class of 24. That is an incredible honor. I've seen some tape on this guy. He is really, really good. Hey, before we go to that tape, Coach Griner, Coach Grice, give me your thoughts on him.
Well, I mean, if you're ever ranked #1 in 24/7 sports, and that's pretty special, I can tell you that. I can't wait to watch the clips on him right now. I've just been so focused on West Charlotte football, I haven't seen much of South Carolina, so I'd like to look at it right now.
Yeah.
What was that like today, getting that news?
It was definitely a great experience for me and my family, knowing that I've been working for it since the age of 8. So it was definitely a cool experience, but this is when, I tell us all the time, this is when the work actually grinds and actually starts because, I have a bigger target on my back. I already had a target on my back a couple of days ago, but now I got an even bigger target on my back just with the ranking from every position now. They all want to be the #1 player in the country. But, I look at it, I thrive off of pressure. I thrive off of big games and under pressure. So I look at it as an achievement, but, I know that doesn't mean anything when you get to the college level. So, I'm still working, still grinding, put my head down and go to work. Right. Definitely, making it back to where we got to and winning the game now. But just taking it week by week at a time, it's different, saying this is how you're supposed to act in a certain situation, but until you get to, the upper state championship game and see that type of environment, that's when I think experience is the best teacher. So being now in our third year as a high school program, I think we have a lot more experience under our belt being in that game. And I think we have full talent and full capability to make it back and farther in that game now.
Hey, Sam, the fact that Davis is the #1 player, that's incredible. Also Jadeveon Clowney was previously ranked #1, which again shows just the phenomenal hotbed of talent we live in. But I really want to ask you this, Sam. You also coached a #1 player. Give me just what it's like as a coach to know that you've got the top player in his class at position group in the country. I mean, that's just got to be an incredible honor and a good feeling.
Oh, it's huge because a lot of times the #1 player is such an impact player, especially in high school. It's either a running back, a quarterback. A lot of times it could be a defensive lineman. They make huge impacts in the game and it makes the whole team better around them. I coached Kavaris Crouch, and by far I thought he was the best player. I told Langston, this kid is going to be the best in the entire nation. He laughed at me. And then after we won the championship, he was ranked #1. And rivals. And so I think that was pretty cool. And but there's a lot of pressure that goes on. Like the following year, he was ranked #1 going into the senior season. I went to Hickory Ridge, and, he didn't have the best season. He was injured a lot. And so, it could be a lot of pressure to someone. And if you can handle that pressure and still stay #1, that shows your resiliency, and you'll do really good in college.
Hey, Bryce, we talked earlier in the show about Grimsley and just how close they are to being that top team in the state. It was announced this week that Travis Shaw, the defensive lineman, has announced his commitment to Carolina. I call him a generational kind of talent. I think he is like that Julius Peppers, that next level guy. He's got LeBron James size and you know, just the agility of a point guard. Tell me how big a deal this is.
Oh, it's a huge deal. I think one for the player. I mean, you look at a guy like Travis Shaw, and you talk about, like you said, he doesn't look like the old sloppy defensive lineman, gut hanging out, not able to run. He does look like a guy that could play defensive end, could play tackle, just really athletic at the high school level. Of course, projected as an interior defensive lineman at the collegiate level, but now shifting to UNC. I mean, what a get here. I mean, I think that it's always known that you want to keep your talent in state, but Mac really sat down and made sure that that was an understanding, and he was going to determine to say any player that's in our area, we want to keep them and build that fence around the state. I think he's done a great job, and this is a landmark get here for Mac Brown.
Yeah. How hype was Langston and Gary when he made this decision?
Oh, there's a chat back there. Dabo, here we go.
So one thing I want to say, I've talked to a lot of college recruiters. I'm friends with a lot of guys that coach college ball, and they tell me the number one position that's hard to get because there's a huge drop-off. Like the first 10 guys are unbelievable, and then there's a huge drop-off. It's defensive linemen. And, you know, for North Carolina to get Travis Shaw, you know, he's definitely one of the best in the country. He's in the top 10, I would say. And those guys, they play on Sundays when you're normally in that top 10.
Yeah, no kidding. I want to bring this up real quick, get your feedback on this, Sam. I know that Travis Shaw is a phenomenal basketball player. I mean, just he's hooped it up. I think he's even beat some of Langston teams back in the day. But how important is it to have a guy with such physicality and size? And he's only 17, by the way. He ain't even through growing, that has those just really agile feet. I mean, that's just something that's hard to come by from a physical standpoint.
Well, that's just the way the game's going right now. You have to be an athlete to be on the field. Like, I mean, our offensive guards, like, you know, I've coached an offensive guard that was one of the best athletes. He could broad jump over 9 feet. You know what I'm saying? That sucker's still playing for South Carolina. Stuff like that. You have to be an athlete. You have to be able to move around. You got to be a multiple sport guy to be able to do things and just show that he's that great of a basketball player. It just shows how it's going to translate to football. And that's why they look for that, you know, in the recruiting world.
All right, guys. We're going to go right now to our top 15 rankings here for the state of North Carolina. These are going to come out tomorrow, but we're going to debut them here tonight here on Talking Preps. We're going to start right here with the 1A. We've got a brand new number one. Our number one team lost Tarboro in the season opener to Rocky Mount 12-0. But Eastern Randolph coming down from the 2A to the 1A. I think they served notice beating the powerhouse Eastern Alamance team, just dominated them. They are our new number one in the 1A. Tarboro didn't go far. Number 2, Robbinsville. Huge win over 4A Asheville, moving up to 3. Mount Heritage has yet to play a game. They're at 4. Mitchell at 5. Murphy at 6. Thomas Jefferson 7, Mount Airy 8, Winston-Salem Prep 9, Drawn up there in Burke County. They're number 10 for Quimmins 11. Northside, they were the state runners-up a year ago. Rosewood had a big win last night. First time they beat a 3A rival Aycock this century, matter of fact. 14 East Wilkes, 15 Riverside Martin. Those are some really good 1A teams, and we'll move it up here to the 2A here momentarily once we get this graphic. Those are some good 1A teams, guys.
What is Anson County?
Anson's 2A.
They're 2A. Well, yeah, that was a good win for Mountain Island Charter.
Mountain Island Charter's got to be on the periphery there of breaking into those rankings. Big
we're going to email. Langston getting an email right now.
Well, hey, if you got problems with the rankings, email me. You can find me on Twitter at Guru Chris Hughes. Here's the 2A. Number 1, Reidsville, Shelby, Burns, Salisbury, Northeastern. Number 6, Hendersonville. 7, Clinton. 8, St. Paul's. 9, Washington. 10, Wallace Rose Hill. They hung 68 points on a good East Bladen team last night. Number 11, East Duplin. They hung 67 on 3A Dixon last night. Number 12, Maiden. 13, Whiteville. 14, Monroe. 15, West Craven. Again, there is a lot of good football teams there in the 2A.
That top
I wouldn't
four
line up against many of those guys.
Goodness.
Yeah, no kidding. We'll get here to the 3A. In 3A, obviously, Coach Griner, it gets pretty tight. I don't see you on there, but we'll talk about that. Number 1 team moving up this week, Scotland County. Number 2, Lee County. 3, Greensboro Dudley. 4, Havelock. 5, Crest. 6, Rocky Mount. 7, Jacksonville. 8, Terry Sanford. 9, East Lincoln. 10, Northern Nash. 11, J.B. Hunt, who beat last week's number 1, J.H. Rose. 13, South Point. 14, Oak Grove. 15, Statesville.
Ooh, where's Grinder at?
That
Come on, man. Where's the disrespect? Talk about it, Grinder. How you feel?
Hey, I hear him cry later in the year. That's all that matters. Now, when you start,
you're here in 60 seconds. Where we got wrong? Hey, Sam Grinder, he's got to come back and do that.
That's right.
All right, hey, here's the big dogs. 4A, number 1, Chambers. Number 2, Huff. 3, Grimsley. 4, Butler. 5, East Forsyth. Number 6, Richmond County. 7, Cardinal Gibbons. 8, Charlotte Catholic. 9, Cleveland. 10, Newbern. 11, Southview. 12, Weddington. 13, Myers Park. 14, Providence. 15, Glenn. We got a few teams in there that haven't even played a game yet, so we still got some question marks with them. But all in all, the 4A, I promise you, we could go to about 65, 70 teams, and it's still stacked.
No Hickory Ridge on there.
They're really close. They're really close. They got a chance to be there this week. I'm telling you, they have a chance.
To crack that top 15 in 4A, you have to be a daggone Thundercat.
You got to beat the Bears, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, hey, guys, that was the top 15 rankings here for the Charlotte Observer, talking preps. Let's go into Fresh Faces. Grice, obviously, but Grice, did you know you become the superstar here in Charlotte? Did you know that?
I am not a superstar. Fun story. I walk into the stadium, and who's the first face I see, especially after all the shenanigans from last week, was Coach Hales. Coach Hales looking at me ready. I think if I was like a receiver coming across the middle, and he was a linebacker. Like eyes were on me. He's ready to make it happen. But glad we have Coach on here. He can do a lot of fun stuff with us.
Well, Coach Hales, always a pleasure having you on here with us. And you mentioned shenanigans. We always seem to have a few and cut up and enjoy the time, because why not? I mean, we're talking about our favorite passion, high school football. And not only that, we're going to talk about some great-looking young men that are getting it done that you guys there need to take notice of. Circle them, look at them, because they'll probably be some of the next guys playing on Saturday. So I don't know if we want to go ahead and roll this film and start looking at some of these guys. I think this first one we're going to look at is Russell Lange from Athens Drive. There you see him in those beautiful blue and orange uniforms. Russell Lange is one of those H-back kind of linebacker, kind of physical guys that you really got to have on any kind of football team. There you see him right there in the circle. Look at him penetrating that A-gap, getting in there to make the tackle. And there you see him right here lining up in an H-back. And both of you offensive gurus, I may be the high school football guru, but both of you guys are offensive masterminds. You guys need guys like him to be able to set that edge to kind of give you some leverage for the play you're going to run.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, Coach Hales is, you've seen him, push many of these guys. I love having guys like this. And then this guy, no matter what kind of program you want that do-it-all guy where you can line him up hand down. He can be a sniffer in the backfield and also play a little linebacker for you. Those type guys, I feel like, are kind of having the resurgence in high school football as well as in the higher ranks.
And this is about the fifth play we've seen, and this is also about the fifth position we've seen. And I was about to say to you, Coach Hales, who does he maybe remind you of? A guy that you can maybe plug and play in any position on the field, maybe a smaller or a bigger version, I should say, of maybe a Nate Charest, somebody that you have confidence of putting him in any position, any time of the game. That's a huge compliment to him, by the way.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, you look at those guys, and next to them, position just says football player. You just put them in and go, let them play.
And now look at him all the way out as a split end on the far side of the field. Hey, there's a little hitch and go. Is he going to be able to catch the deep ball? Oh, man, that boy, he's a big boy, and he's got some speed, but he can also make that catch in open field. They came up a little bit short on the scoreboard last night. But Athens Drive, look at him right here. This is Russell Lange. And Russell Lange, I don't know if he's any kin to Danny Ainge that played for the Celtics back in the day, but he is a great athlete. And I think he's a guy that all three of us would want on our team given the opportunity. All right, guys. Here, let's go to our second fresh face here. And this guy here is at Providence High School. This is John Ballas. And, man, the first play and he's already out there making plays. Look at him lining up right there at the Mike linebacker, hitting the gap, going off the linebacker, and boom, that guy's making some plays. Coach Hales, what would you think of having to kind of scheme against this guy every night?
Well, I'm going to have to scheme up against him here in a few weeks. I think some of that stuff I better keep to myself. No, that's a good-looking football player, man. I think we better buckle it up that Friday night.
You're absolutely right. And I kind of baited you into that question. I'm sorry about that, Coach. But Bryce, you're an offensive guy. And anytime as an offensive coordinator that you're having to maybe circle that one guy as maybe your conflict guy, or maybe that one guy you've got to stay away from, he looks to me like one of those guys that you're going to have to know as the quarterback making that pre-snap read where he's at on any given play.
Oh, he's a guy that's, highlighted, underlined, circled in your scouting report for sure. I mean, you talk about, Coach Ward and, their mentality, get on the bus and all of the things they brought to resurge that Providence program. He embodies a lot of that. And luckily, I've only seen him in the padless 7-on-7 activity, so I haven't had to worry about some of the things he could do to stop the run game. But he's definitely a quality linebacker and a guy that, again, you talk about why Providence has gotten better.
Yeah, and I'll say this real quickly. We've got Carter Wyatt and Matt David and some of those really elite-looking linebackers that we've got on our list for football. This guy don't look too far off that list. I mean, he's a really quality guy. So he's a guy that I'm going to have to circle on my list from week to week to kind of look at.
All right, so a guy that I know all too well, Matt Flanders. I coached at Hopewell. He's a tight end. Again, I think our team today has been those H-backy tight end type guys, and he's a guy that's embodied that. Started varsity since his freshman year. I mean, he's got 6'4", 230. We actually have his sophomore year clips here. But you can see a versatile guy who we were able to utilize in the slot. He was another guy that, we could use in the sniffers, kind of like some of the other fresh faces we've had here. And just in general, a guy who's been experienced and been able to do a lot within our program. So, Chris Hughes, definitely your thoughts on him?
No, if this is a sophomore film, he certainly looks like a grown man already at such a young age. So I have no doubt that he is one of these good-looking guys. And again, I can already kind of see some versatility in being able to put him in some different spots as well. So that's always, in my opinion, as a high school player that's wanting to go to that next level, or even just get some playing time on your own field, the more versatility you can show coaches that you can do a lot of different things. I think that that's really good, and props to him.
All right, so here's a guy that, I guess both myself and Coach Hills know extremely well. A kid I've known for a long time, and Xavier Brower, the quarterback now for the Butler Bulldogs. And, Coach, you've had him for a little while, but, of course, known him for a bit. I'll turn it over to you to talk about some of the great things that you love about him so far.
The first thing I would say is his leadership. I mean, he's a kid who's going to jump up, be the first kid ready to go to work. Everything you want from a quarterback, a guy that's going to put himself out there and take responsibility for things. We had a conversation, when he got with our program about, if anything goes wrong out there, you're going to be the first one, to take responsibility for it, because you're going to get all the credit when things go well. So, and he was already like that. And, can tell, he comes from a great family, but, and then just from a physical perspective and all the things that he could do. He's got a great strong arm, runs the ball real well. You see some of these clips here. He doesn't go down easy. So, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with Zay. We're going to be able to do a lot of different things with him.
Wow, Coach, one thing I want to ask, you've coached some of the best quarterbacks that I've ever seen in North Carolina high school football. I don't even have to name them because we all know who they are. Where does this young man's potential kind of rank on that list? Because he does have a lot of those physical attributes. But you and I both know to play quarterback, a lot of times it's more in the IQ and the mental processing and understanding the game of football before the snap is ever even made. How is he coming along with that aspect?
Fantastic. And again, typically with our quarterbacks, their first year as a starter, they get about, just a couple of chapters of the playbook. Second year, you kind of open it up a little more. But, with his experience already, we've kind of been able to speed that process up. So, it's really a great credit to him, just being able to pick up the mental part of it and, doing the studying and the offsite work that he's been able to do to learn our offense so he can get the most out of it.
All right, guys. Hey, that's some great fresh faces, Bryce. I enjoyed that. Appreciate Coach Hale's just coming on right here to break that down with us too. But, guys, we got a brand new segment. We kind of did it last week, but we're going to do it again. That's called Would You, Dale? And I'm going to point right down there at Dale because, Dale, would you? Let's hear
it.
Would you? Mayonnaise,
spoon. Mayonnaise. Obviously I would. Man, that stuff's good. Ingredients for traditional tomato sandwich. Of course, tomato. Nice, big, juicy. White bread, soft, preferably. Black pepper goes on the tomato. Salt. No, it does not have to be kosher salt. This will do. Finally, the piece de la resistance. Duke's mayonnaise. Nothing else will do. Okay, let's get to work. First thing you do is you got to put the mayonnaise onto the bread. So we'll do that. We'll have to speed some things up here.
Hey, where'd he go?
Where'd my video go?
I think we lost it. Dale.
He ate the sandwich so fast.
No, come on, it's a good video.
Oh, man.
Great. I seem like I hear it playing, but
we're going to have to post the rest of it on our Twitter page or something like that for our preps. But wow, well, good video quality first and foremost. By the way, I hate mayonnaise, but I'm not going to take away from your video.
I don't know if I could eat straight mayonnaise like that. I'm like, oh,
sure you could if you like it.
I would make a mustard tomato sandwich, but mayonnaise.
Oh, mustard tomato,
spicy mustard.
Mustard tomato.
I eat a ham sandwich with mustard every day.
So you got to have that tanginess, and that's what mayonnaise gives you, is that tanginess, and that's why it's got to be Duke's, because you got to get that tang, in it. Nothing else will do.
You just
do what?
Well, obviously,
I've got some other good stuff that's going to come. I think we'll see. It's going to have the would you of things probably people would not do. See, my wife, when I make a tomato sandwich, there's always mayonnaise left over on the knife, right? So I'll lick it, and my wife is like, "Ugh," and she likes mayonnaise, but it's like, "Ugh." So I thought,
Dale, you should have had the Dukes right there beside you. Maybe they would have given us some Clemson and Georgia tickets for you having the Dukes mayonnaise.
That's right.
Wow. Well, great job, Dale. Again, I may not like mayonnaise, but I like the video quality, and I think it's an awesome segment. So that's pretty cool.
Great.
Well, hey, we're going to go to a new segment that we're bringing on every week now here with Talking Preps. We're going to be talking to my man Alex Zietlow. We all remember Alex. He came on last year and really broke down some upstate football. Well, he's going to be breaking down the upstate for us this week. So let's go ahead and roll that with our man Alex Zietlow from the Herald.
I have 4 games that I'm going to be kind of running down with you guys today. The first of which is Rock Hill at South Point. I mean, this is a classic.
We lost it.
I have 4 games that I'm going to be kind of running down with you guys today. The first of which is Rock Hill at South Point. I mean, this is a classic, inner city rival game. Second game is Indian Land at Northwestern that I'm going to talk to you about. Both teams, again, had pretty good weeks. I mean, Northwestern lost to South Point, as aforementioned, but they played well. I mean, there are some, kind of kinks and some kind of shortcomings on the defense and some answers or some questions that, head coach Paige Wofford over at Northwestern is going to have to answer. But outside of, a second half where South Point kind of beat them in their own run game, Northwestern did play well. They had some really big play potential from guys like Khalid Cunningham, who caught over 100 yards receiving and returned a kickoff return for a touchdown. And Indian Land played well as well. They beat their neighbor in Nation Ford. So that'll be a good game. Moving on to Catawba Ridge and Nation Ford, this is a battle of 2 of the best young quarterbacks in the state of South Carolina. Firstly, at Nation Ford, you got this dude, Carson Black, got some offers from schools like South Carolina, other kind of Power 5 schools like that. And then Catawba Ridge has a quarterback that pretty much everyone in the country has heard of. His name is Jaden Davis. He was recently announced as the #1 overall prospect in the class of 2024. And then finally, we're kind of going to North Carolina for this last game, Legion Collegiate at Cannon School. Y'all North Carolina people probably have heard of Cannon. But I'm going to talk about Legion Collegiate, which is a public charter school in Rock Hill. And they're the only public charter school in the North Carolina Independent Schools Athletic Association. They'll be playing at Cannon School. They got a couple playmakers as well, and they're led by legendary South Carolina coaches in Straight Heron, who's the head coach, and Bobby Carroll, who's the defensive coordinator. And so that should be really good too.
Man, this theme music's on point, guys.
Oh, it's been perfect, man. Shout out to the graphics and the music guys in the back. They've been killing it.
Shout out to you, Grace. Though you came on the show like sweating bullets. I'm like, my man ran 3 miles.
Man, I literally ran up here.
I love it.
Wow. Well, hey guys, we put together this list of the top games to watch in North Carolina this week, and I'm going to throw them out there. I'm going to read them down the list, and we're going to kind of get you guys feedback. Here we go. Princeton at East Duplin, Panther Creek at Leesville Road, Hoggard at Scotland. That's going to be a big one. Thursday night game, West Forsyth at Oak Grove. Myers Park is now going to Clover, matter of fact. You know, that's supposed to be Mallard Creek. Watauga at Maiden. Man, I give props to Maiden going up to play 4A Watauga. Wilson Fike at Northern Nash. These are 2 big-time teams in the East. Cleveland at Greenville Rose. Shelby at AC Reynolds. Grimsley at Reagan. Looking here on the other side. Dudley at Southeast Guilford. Mount Airy at East Surrey. Eastern Randolph, top team in the 1A, by the way, against Art Travel, Asheboro. Durham Hillside and Southern Durham. That's going to be a big game. The Battle of the Bull City. Robbinsville at Brevard. 71st at Pine Forest. Hartford County at Tarboro. Wake Forest at Clayton, and Indy at Marvin Ridge. I don't think that one's going to take place now. I'm not sure. And then Davie at West Rowan, guys. And let me just make sure we're looking at this. Trying to make sure I'm a little off my script right now. But, guys, I'm going to throw it to y'all. These are some big games.
Yeah, if they're off, where's West Charlotte versus Hardin? Old school game, baby. Let's go.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
The battle of the burgundy and gold.
That's right. We're going to represent that real gold.
Hey, so Griner, give us Griner, give us your keys for that game. What are you looking to do to get off of the undefeated start? What are you looking to do?
Well, you got to take care of the ball. It's our first game. They've already got their feet wet playing last week, so we got to come out, mistake-free, get into a groove, and then let all our work pay off, that we put in the summer. This, coming in a COVID year before, I never got to meet with the guys. I never got to lift weights with them. Now we had a whole off season where we can develop each other through the summer, and I'm really excited to see what they can do. I think they can be really special. We got like 1,000 trick plays, by the way, too.
All right,
here I go, guys. These are our top 10 games. This is where I was a little thrown off here. This is my top 10 games of the week. Obviously, the Saturday night game, Richmond County, Butler, Memorial Stadium. We're going to talk about it at length here. Crest at Burns, Providence at Weddington, Hickory Ridge at Charlotte Catholic, Rocky Mountain Northeastern, Clinton at Wallace Rose Hill. That's now off, by the way, guys. And this COVID protocol, that's a very fluid thing. South Macon, Providence, Salisbury at Polk County. That's a rescheduled game. That's 2 top 15, 2 top 20 2A teams. Rollsville at East Forsyth is incredible. Chambers at Highland Springs up in Virginia. That's a tough team. That's going to be a big game. But guys, let's focus on this Richmond County Butler game. And Grice, we'll start with you and work our way down. Let's get your thoughts on this huge matchup.
All right. Again, as we've highlighted, Richmond County and Butler, I think 2 top teams, both with big wins, in their games. This, we can break down some of my keys to victory, I think, for both teams. I think the first thing we look at is a QB battle. You talk about Xavier Brower clearly as our fresh face. Had a great game in his first game in a Butler Bulldog uniform. The younger Kellen Hood, of course, the younger brother, of the great Hood. What was Hood's first name? Elijah?
Caleb.
Caleb. That's it. Yeah. So Elijah was the running back in Catholic, but Yeah, so again, Kellen Hood, again, second year starting there, had a great performance against Mount Tabor, and those guys did well. Whose first game was the anomaly? Who's going to stay on track against, two very good defenses? And, that leads me into the second point, with the Richmond County's defense. We got word of cramping and a little bit of conditioning really, affecting that second half of that Mount Tabor game. We saw Mount Tabor mount an impressive comeback, and ultimately that defense gave up on, 41 points. If the cramps and conditioning were a concern week one, it's not a lot of turnaround time in week two. So will they be able to take another, a long trip and then still have that same conditioning in order to play a 4-quarter football game in a team that we think is going to challenge for the 4A state title? And then my last one, which is, maybe a little bit of surprise to people, is can Butler reverse the trend? Butler's really experienced success here in the last few years, but they haven't beaten Richmond since 2017. So, its win will be big, and it's on a big stage. We talk about Memorial Stadium and how these Saturday and, some Friday night game of the weeks are just, all of the rage in the city. I mean, you went back to – went there this week on Thursday, you just really saw all the kids from all these different schools that are there excited to see that going on. So on a big stage, Butler really has to kind of continue to show their readiness for state championship football, and they can do so in a big way with the win against Richmond County on Saturday.
Toronto, what's your thoughts?
Did you say me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's get your thoughts on the big game.
I mean, I think that, what is Richmond County? Like, Richmond County did not have a great COVID session, and how much better have they gotten in the summer? They are a big weight room type program. Their head coach, he's amped up, but they're going against Guru and Hales, and that defense coordinator they got is phenomenal. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does for Butler. I think that Butler has more talent than Richmond County, so I think that they can, especially playing in Charlotte, it's a big advantage playing here. Going to Richmond County where they got the LED lights and, that gets them a little hype. That gives them 7 points right there with just the LED lights.
Yeah, you're right. Gary, I'm interested to get your take and Dale as well.
I think it'll be an interesting game. One of the things that, I harken back to is how Richmond used to dominate CMS schools. And then Tommy Knox had a breakthrough. And since that point, the other CMS schools, whether it be Mallet Creek, whether it be Huff, whether it be Butler, Independence, they all learned the formula for beating Richmond County. And so I think Richmond County really is the one that comes in as the underdog because CMS schools, they know how to beat Richmond now.
Wow, Gary, that's funny you would mention that because I was thinking that back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000, it was always about a lot of it was about Richmond and what Richmond and Charlotte schools could do against each other if they played more often. And I'm glad to see that this particular rivalry, I'm going to call it because they've played so often now, when they picked up playing every year there in the 2000s. I'm glad to see that happen because these are two top quality programs with two top quality fan bases. You can expect to see some of the best football games I've seen have been these Butler-Richmond games, be them down at Richmond or that game that was played on the Saturday at Providence when we had that big rain episode. I expect this to be a big game, a good game, and a game that will tell us a lot about both programs. Winner here could go far.
Incredible insight. Great job, Dale. Hey, Griner, what time is it?
You know what it is. Coach or the coach, man.
Yeah.
Let's throw it.
Welcome to another edition of
Man, this is my favorite segment of the show, man. I'm getting pumped up. We need to do this at the beginning. This is so much
fun. Level today, too, Greg. I went 5 for 5 on the questions earlier.
I saw, man. You're on the run.
Man, we're getting pumped up, ready to go. Who's going to win tonight?
I mean, I think my record is like 59-2 or something like that.
Well, since you're the champion, I'm going to let the challenger go first. So, Coach Grice, this is for you. Should Garinger be playing varsity this season, and what is the long-term implications?
Yeah, I mean, even if I would have went second here, it's no way in good conscience that I can, or even, I wouldn't think Griner could say that they should be playing varsity. I think it's a situation where you have a program that's borderline, struggling or struggling to exist on a consistent basis. And I thought Coach Galloway had a great idea and a great kind of start or direction for his program by starting on a junior varsity level, such as what Green Level did with starting their program, building that up to then get to 2 football teams. I do think the long-term implications are as such where you have a team that becomes beaten down and doesn't really have that confidence. And for the kids that are able to compete on that level, well, you always have the danger of some of these big schools poaching them away by talking about, hey, you're a great player and can play with us, and why are you going to go there and lose every game? So that's always the struggle with a team that can't compete on a certain level but yet are being forced to. I personally think it's shameful, and I think that CMS really needs to reconsider that as it relates to if we really want to talk about public safety for the kids.
I think if they would approach CMS with their plan, then they would have honored it. I think that it was just like a surprise to CMS, and there's a lot of other teams that have games scheduled versus Garinger, and I think that's the bigger factor. Like, other teams are going to be scrambling to find a game when they already scheduled for Garinger. You see what I'm saying? So, I think I understand their intentions are really good, but I think playing varsity this season is beneficial because, you're going to find out who's really tough, who's not. They just got to be able to weather the storm. Their coaching staff that they have at Garinger does a phenomenal job. I actually watched a little bit of that game, and I thought that they encouraged those kids extremely well. They're going to get better faster by playing a tougher competition, and they're all young, which is great. So if they get this competition now, they can build upon it next year as well, and anything can happen from 3 years from now when a coach gets there and takes it over.
Wow, a great insight, Griner. We're going to stick with you for this next question. Minimum amount of conference games needed for playoffs this year. What do you think?
I think it has to be a minimum of 4. I would have to say a minimum of 4. That can kind of put a little meat on the platter. A lot of times you only play 5, but if you at least get 4 in, I'll consider that an amount of conference games needed for playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, I looked at it from a percentage-based standpoint. So, at least a team is getting over 50% of their conference games in. And our conference, that puts us, Griner, we have to get the minimum of 4. So gives you that number. But again, for some of these smaller or split conferences, if you're getting in your related, if you're 2A, 3A, if you're a 2A and getting your opponent. So, Griner, for you, as long as you're playing, the necessary 3A team on your schedule, I think that's important. So, I mean, I think, over half of your conference games, one, gives you a window into the team. If you're, getting a chance to play almost everyone, surely enough with the way the schedules are equally balanced, you'll play a top team in your conference with half your schedule. You'll ensure that you get around to these teams. And even if you don't, your playoff seed is going to put you around some top teams that are going to show it. You're going to have to show in a hurry if you're really worthy of that ranking.
Yeah, man, look at you two throwing out some great knowledge tonight. I have to agree with both of you. Granted, you kind of have to deal with what we're given with the protocol and everything, but I do think that, and I'd like to see some sort of minimum standard. I don't think it would be implemented, but I agree with both of you guys with your stance. Coach Grice, we're going to stick with you here on this final question. Are NFL joint camp practices taking away from the preseason games?
I think they are. I mean, I think it's a situation. I mean, you'll see guys that are more competitive in these joint practices. I mean, Griner, we've already, I think we've laughed about some of these fighting videos where a guy's got his hands up, knuckling up in a practice drill. And then we see in preseason the same dull preseason, basic plays, guys kind of brother-in-law at not giving full effort that, really take away from the game when people are paying for that. I'd rather pay the money to see the practice. Maybe it's the coach in me, but that's what I want to see. I want to see some of these intense drills, some of these joint, practices where these guys are really getting after it. So in my mind, yeah, they take away from everything I want to see.
Well, the preseason games are strictly just to make a little bit of money. None of the teams really get prepared by doing preseason. They're trying to fill the last end of the roster. So these joint practices really are more important than the actual, preseason games, in my opinion. Like, what if we didn't have joint practices? We wouldn't have had the what's my man Hopkins with Hall. You know what I'm saying? I fear God.
God, boy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we have that clip. I fear God. You know, so
that's what I'm saying, Grant.
Yeah.
I wanted to be in that
you ain't
moment.
gonna see that though in a preseason game.
I wanted to be there. Hey, give me $80. I'll
see
pay
that
$80
regular season.
to go watch that.
Hey, and by the way, is it not an annual rite of passage anyway? You've got to have that one preseason fight where them linemen are just getting after it every time. I love it. You know, I do think it takes away from the games, and I'm kind of with Grinder. I would rather see the preseason practices because you know the coaches are right there digging at them, and they're getting so much more from a coaching standpoint. Go ahead.
One thing to add to that, like, you know, we had a scrimmage, you know, where you had your scrimmage at Grice, and we literally got one series in offensively and a couple on defense. But earlier in the week, we joint practice with you know, East Meck, and we got a lot of work done. I mean, you get inside drill, you got all types of things where you can really work on your craft instead of just doing a real live game. You could do 7-on-7 with them, you know, full contact. You could do 1-on-1s. There's a lot of things where you can get through your practice, and it's really good because NFL teams are still limited to players. Okay, so they don't want to bang against each other. They want to bang against someone else. And the same thing in high schools, you know, we're rolling with 45, 50 guys, you know, and another team's doing the same thing. It's very beneficial to have another guy to go against their ones versus our ones.
But that's what I'm saying. You don't see that in the preseason game. I don't care about Joe Bob Billy on the third string receiver catching a 50-yard pass. I mean, what do we get? Victor Cruz long pass. I don't care.
Right,
Give me the joint practice. They're taking away from the games, like because the ones want the practice. Give me a preseason fight. Give me a preseason game fight, and I'm all in.
You all?
Nothing's happened. It gets boring. I'm falling asleep on these games. Take away the joint practice. See it in the game. I want your ones going against my ones. Imagine if we would have said, I fear God on the field of the preseason game. Sign me up for the preseason package.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're making the point. When have you ever, before they did joint practices, because it's fairly new, like the last 5 to 7 years or so.
Wow, Grinder, come on.
I mean, come on. I mean, like, at least you know. All right, here's the thing. When has there ever been a preseason game that's been relevant? Never. Like, how bad is the Hall of Fame? The Hall of Fame game.
Away from the game.
It's terrible.
Don't fight
it's terrible.
In the game.
It's terrible. Hey, guys, this is going so well. We're going to throw 2 more questions instead of doing 3 in this coach versus coach. So we're going to fire this thing up. Hey, Langston, give me some more questions. How should high school teams deal with this COVID-19 cases? Coach Griner, you're up.
Oh, boy.
Right. Wait a minute.
Yeah, Grice is going to have a hard time with this one. Deal with COVID-19 cases. I mean, you just do the same protocol that you would do in the school. So if you know you have to be quarantined, if you've been around certain people, I think if everybody provides a negative test, they can be able to practice. I think that's the way you should do it. You know, just provide this negative test, bring it to practice, and you should be able to go. Like if there's like 4 or 5 guys that have COVID, they need to sit off to the side and quarantine until they can, produce a negative test or whatnot. But everybody else shouldn't suffer. I think that there's ways around this whole deal, because I know if I had COVID, which, being vegetarian, you can't really get it. So that's a positive thing. But like if I did, I would hope my coaching staff can move on without me and still run practice. And I think they could.
Yeah, and I mean, again, clearly, as it's known, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of this. I think the important thing to know is to not make hasty decisions. I think the biggest thing we've seen with these COVID cases, especially around high school kids, is that where there's one, there's going to be 5 or 6. That's the situation is, again, if you find one that has it, a day or 2 later, 2 to 3 days later, we've seen that you're going to then find that, hey, this kid's been around this kid. He's going to have symptoms. And I think one of the biggest things, especially with talking with Coach Hales, and I think you would agree, is us not playing that game immediately, led to and really prevented such a major contact tracing situation as, we've had, others that have contracted the virus. So I'm thankful for the fact that we didn't rush into that game regardless of what, the chatter is, because we have a situation where our one turned into a lot more similar to what was stated at Independence, where their initial amount did grow over, the next couple of days. So I think the biggest thing is for guys not to be hasty and go from there.
Hey, guys, let me bring Gary on because I'd like to get Gary's take on this as well. Hey, Gary, you see the question there on the bottom, but I'll go ahead and read it again for you. How should high school football teams deal with this COVID-19 cases? What's your take?
Well, I think, as Sam said, they should immediately go into testing mode and see if there's anyone else that has it. And then those players that are vaccinated, if they have a negative result, I think they should be allowed to go into practice. Those that are not vaccinated, I think the incubation time, and don't quote me on this, but it's around 72 hours. After 72 hours, the other guys should test who have not been vaccinated. I think when you just randomly or just when you put a blanket statement, we got one kid with COVID, and then you shut the whole program down, you take away the incentive for others to get the vaccine. You know, a lot of kids are getting the vaccine because they want to play. But if they know, regardless of whether they get it or not, if one person gets gets COVID, then everybody's going to be shut down. I think that's a little too rough on a whole program. I mean, you're affecting not only your team, but the other teams having to scramble to try to find another game. I think sometimes they're acting too hasty. I understand that back in the spring or last season or last fall when we didn't have a vaccine. But now that we have an approved vaccine, I think that everybody should be tested. I know people think, well, maybe that gets too expensive, but I think the government pays for all these COVID tests. So I think the whole team should be tested. Those that are negative should be allowed to return to practice if they have the vaccine. The others, 3 days. And then as far as the game is concerned, say it's somebody gets postponed on Thursday and you can't play the game on Friday until they get all the test results back. Then the team should be ready to go by Monday. Monday at the latest to make up that game, if possible, if they have enough players. But I think this thing of you get one player and it shuts down a whole Friday night for both teams, I think that's a little harsh.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to kind of follow up with Gary's point, you know, I agree with the hastiness of it, but also incentivizing the vaccine. I think that's a good thing right there because you do want to encourage these guys to get the vaccine. So, you know, I'm certainly for that because, you know, you have a guy that gets the vaccine and, oh, well, you got to sit out anyway. You know, I understand the frustration with that. But we do have one final question right here. And Coach Grice, we're going to start with you. Thoughts on the Panthers so far? Are the playoffs in their future? Grice, you're up.
I mean, I like liken this to the famous David Ruffin quote and take that for the Panthers quarterback. Nobody's here to see Sam Darnold. Nobody came to see you, you know, and it's just one of those things where I just can't get excited for that. And I mean, even their playoff game, their preseason game, against the Ravens, just no excitement was brought to that team offensively. And it's just one of those situations where you bring in a Joe Brady who led one of the most prolific offenses in college football. We're gonna need to start seeing some receipts here. As I don't see that explosiveness that was characteristic of his time at LSU, albeit short. But we're gonna have to start seeing some results from this offense. We know the defense is gonna be aggressive. We know the defense is gonna produce results. But we're starting to see a lot of key cogs, key pieces there. And I'm not there to see Sam Darnold, man. That's the only Sam I acknowledge right there on this show, Sam Griner. We don't acknowledge Sam Darnold right here.
I mean, Sam Darnold has an extremely strong first name. We're not going to lie about that. Hopefully it can produce to the field. But like the problem is this, you got to win games based upon championship defense, especially in the NFL. And I think that that's what the head coach is trying to do. I think that their first-round draft pick, I know a lot of people are going to ridicule that. I think, in my opinion, he was a top 3 player in the entire draft. I think he's a phenomenal – like, when we all – like, 3 years from now, we're going to be like the number 1 corner in the NFL is going to be him and, your boy from the Rams. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I think that he's that legit. Watch them up close. I think that you had to go that route. There's too many unknowns, and we didn't give up much for Sam Darnold. We gave up a second rounder, so let's see what happens. And then we got the richest owner in sports for a reason. If he don't like it, he gonna make some changes, and he don't mind paying it. He gonna get what he wants. So I think it's okay what's going on. Just let it play out. It takes 3 years for a coach to really implement his culture.
Yep. Hey, Grunner, I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball. I know during our top 10 matchups, we talked a little bit about the on-the-field game between you, your West Charlotte Lions, taking on your old team, Harding. But I want to just ask you personally, the feelings inside, anytime you go against a school that you were so invested in and that's community and you got a lot of friendships and relationships there, how's it going to feel Friday when you take the field against them?
Yeah, I haven't been there since the regional final game when we played Vance. Now Chambers. It's going to be very emotional. I'm going to give the old win-win for the Gipper speech to the West Charlotte guys to let them know that, this is very important to me. I want to beat Harding. I am a West Charlotte Lion now, king of the jungle, love it where I'm at. And, I gave everything I could to Harding. I left everything out on the table, gave him everything I possibly had. I was completely drained. I aged 10 years. From all the work I tried to put in for the program, setting up pregame meals to uniforms to whatever, calling offense, defense, the whole deal. So I invested a whole lot, but I love where I'm at. And I think it's just a great rivalry game. And just to let everybody know a little knowledge, what we're going to do is West Charlotte is going to buy a West Side championship belt. We're going to buy a belt, and the Battle of the West Side, you can beat us. You can have it at the end of the year. Put it that way.
Oh boy. Okay. I like
West
that.
Side is 3 schools, by the way.
Yeah.
I like that.
Y'all play West Meck too, right?
Barry,
You got
West
Barry too. You got West Bank.
No, Barry is not. No.
What do you mean you're right beside Harding?
Your traditional 3 West Side schools is Harding, West Charlotte, and West Mac.
Oh my goodness.
I'm done with Dale
Dale's everybody gets stuff in trouble with the Barry people. All right.
Sorry, Barry.
I was really, really, really trying to be 90 minutes tonight, and we're like an hour and 45. I thought I had it. I even cut a segment, and I still. Chris, thank you for hosting. You did such a great job. But we just need to let Chris host every week. I can sit in the back and eat bonbons.
Yeah, look at your karate dojo trophy.
I don't have my screen up.
The clock.
All right, it's time for Sam's final thoughts.
All right, my final thoughts are very simple. Going to Memorial Stadium, I was blown away. I didn't know it was going to look that good. Whoever designed it, whoever did everything, it was fabulous. I absolutely love it. I would love to see state championship games played there, at least big-time playoff games of the week. Even 2 playoff games can go there, I think, if you're playing in the Charlotte area or even outside of the Charlotte area. I think that we can even see South Carolina schools come into that play, even though that they have great stadiums. It is a phenomenal place. You can really see downtown Charlotte. You can see the replay scoreboard, like Gary said earlier. It was just magical. Imagine having 10,000 people in the stadium, because you don't see outside of 10,000 anyways at the even state championship games. You go to these big colleges that host, 60 to 90,000 fans, it gets diluted. You feel like there is no fans there. Imagine packing a state championship game at Memorial Stadium, having 10,000 roaring one side, the other side roaring. It would be spectacular.
Oh, you threw me off. I was waiting on you to slow down and give me a voice cue that you're almost done. You just
my bad. Brakes applied.
You want to give Harding any more bulletin board material before we leave?
No, I didn't say nothing bad about Harding. I love Harding. You know what I'm saying?
He said he wants the ball and they're going to score. Let's go.
I just asked a question because I'm sure Coach Smith is looking at you right now.
No, they don't watch me.
What's score prediction? Say it. Score.
They don't watch me. They could care less about what I
say. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be 21-17. Well, they don't kick field goals in high school. 21-14, 20-14, something like that. I think it'll be a close game. Should be a good game. Big game for West Charlotte. They got off to a good start. Harding off a big win over Cairns last week. Guys, great show this week. I apologize, Adele. We had technical difficulties. Your whole video will be up on our Instagram, Twitter, all those pages, Facebook. It'll be everywhere. So you guys see Dale eat tomato sandwiches. Got a lot of response on him doing his thing. But I'm Langston. That's Chris. That's the guru, the #1 voice of high school football. We're so lucky to have him. Jonathan Grice, Dale Ross, Gary Richmond, and the man Sam Grinder started the show. I'm Langston. This is Talking Press.
And
that ding this year.